I was living in Colorado Springs, going to the Nazarene Bible College, and Lorraine and I decided that we were going to go home. And so we drove the hour to Denver, and we were going to catch a plane and then come home. While we were waiting on our plane, they announced that there was a delay because there was something to do with the wind that would create problems for the airplane, and so we were going to have to wait until the wind shifted or stopped or something. And so we waited, and we actually waited about 2 hours. The plane was 2 hours late taking off. Well, they assured us, go ahead and get on the plane. Your connections, they're going to hold all the flights until you get there. Don't you worry about it. Just get on this plane and go. And we did. And whenever we got to the next airport where we were supposed to change planes, just about everybody on that flight, their plane had already left, including ours. So I headed over to customer service. There was a gentleman in front of me, he and his wife and 2 children. Whenever they got to customer service, the wife and 2 children stepped to the side. He went up to the customer service representative, and he just voiced all of his complaints and his concern. He really gave that lady a hard time. And she was not very helpful to him. Finally, she dismissed him and he went off to the side, and I came up next. Well, I'm thinking, this is not going to go good for me either, but what can you do? And so I went up and I told her, I said, our plane was late because of weather and we're trying to get home, and I don't know what can be done, but just anything you can do would be very appreciated. And she said, I think I can get you fixed right up. And she started looking around. She said, we can get you a connecting flight and we can make this work. And I mean, it was just a totally different thing. And I was kind of amazed. And she told me, she said, did you hear what happened to the fellow before you? I said, well, yes, I did. And she said, he came up here with a bad attitude. And she said, and that's the reason why I didn't try to help him right off. She said, you came up here with a good attitude. And she said, because of that, I'm going to make sure that you're taken care of. And she did a great job taking care of us. I've heard it said many years ago that you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. And that day, I truly learned that saying was true. Well, my name is Richard Coleman. I'm the pastor at Shepherd Church of the Nazarene in Lexington, South Carolina, and it's great to be able to spend some time with you today. We've been looking in 1 Samuel, and in 1 Samuel we see where David is, he's still on the run from King Saul, but at this point he's got about 600 men that have joined him, and they're at the place where they need some supplies. And so being on the run, trying to find supplies can be difficult. Well, for the previous months or so, he had been at a place where, close to where a rich man had his sheep and cattle. And the herdsman there always had to be concerned about people coming in and stealing the sheep and cattle or possibly harming the herdsman. Well, David and his men, they were keeping an eye out for the herdsman and the sheep and the cattle to make sure no one stole them or harmed anything. The herdsmen were very appreciative. The Bible doesn't tell us this, but more than likely, they probably mentioned to David, if you ever need anything, I'm sure our master would be very thankful for all that you did. The scripture doesn't tell us that, but that probably happened. Well, anyway, David and his men, they come to the place where they need supplies. And so David sends 2 of his messengers to this rich man. They explain to the rich man, we've been kind of unofficially overseeing your herd and your herdsmen, and so we thought maybe you would be willing to give us some supplies. Well, the rich man had a bad attitude. And he looked at the messengers and he said, that's not going to happen. And he said, I don't owe you anything. I'm not going to give you anything. So just get out of here. So the messengers went back and told David. Well, that did not set well with David. Matter of fact, David told them. He told his men, he said, buckle on your swords. He said, we're going to go see this fellow. We're going to take care of some business. And David was obviously upset. Well, the rich man had a wife. The Bible describes her and talks about her being a really, really nice lady, a wonderful, wonderful woman. She found out what her husband had done. And she also knew or had found out that David and his men had kept their property safe. And she felt like it was a reasonable thing that they should get some supplies. So she gets some servants, they gather up some food and different things, and off she goes, and she meets David about halfway. She bows down before David, and she said, I just want to let you know I'm so sorry for my husband's bad attitude. She said, I take full responsibility for that. She said, but he should not have acted that way, and I just want to tell you I'm sorry and ask for your forgiveness. And she said, I'd like to offer you these supplies for you and for your men. And David received the supplies, and he thanked her and promised her that he would not go and cause any harm to her husband. Attitude goes a long way. Jesus said that if life is going great for somebody, for anybody, they can have a good attitude. I mean, if things are going well, then we can act good. But it's when things are going badly, that as Christians we need to check our attitude. We need to think before we talk. We need to think before we react. Jesus said anybody can be good when things are going well, but it takes something special on the inside to be able to do that when things are not going well. Attitude is an important thing. The Apostle Paul, he said, I don't do what is best for me. I do what is best for the others. And then he went on to say, and the reason that I do that is so that I might lead them to Christ. You see, your attitude might make all the difference in the world as to whether or not someone is willing to accept Christ in their life, whether or not they're willing to let God be the ruler of who they are. See, if they look at you and you call yourself a Christian and you have a bad attitude, then they're not going to want whatever it is that you have. Let's be careful about our attitudes and the way we react. So that's my challenge for you this week. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May His face shine upon you. May you be able to have a great attitude this week so that others can see Christ reflected in your life. Thanks for taking the time and viewing today.